Perek HaShoel HaPara Daf Kuf, sponsored Arichas Yomim for Hensha Basima. We begin with the Mishnah. This Mishnah discusses transactions accomplished by way of chalip and barter. As long as the two bartered items are shava b'shava, the acquisition of one by one of the parties affects the acquisition of the other. In the Mishnah's case, they exchanged a donkey for a cow. The cow calved around the time of the exchange, but it was unclear if before the new owner's legal acquisition or after. The second case concerns a pregnant Canaanite maidservant who can be acquired by a cash purchase. She birthed a child around the time of payment, resulting in the same doubtful ownership as the first case. The law is the two parties divide the value of the calf and the child. The Gemara questions the decision of the Mishnah to divide rather than ascertain who was in possession of the calf or the child. Possession creates a chazaka, a legal presumption of ownership that should result in the fundamental Torah law, the burden of proof is on the claimant. The Gemara accepts this premise. The cases of the Mishnah are where the calf is in a public meadow and the child in public property. However, the Gemara is not satisfied with the solution. Even if possession cannot determine the present owner, the presumption of ownership should transfer to the last known owner by the cheskas marikama. The Gemara concludes the author of the Mishnah is Sumchus, who holds maman amutta b'safek cholkin, property that there is an inherent doubt who is the owner must be divided. However, there is a dispute if Sumchus holds this way, even when they claim tainus bari, it is certainly mine. Number one, Rava holds in the Mishnah, both claim Shema. Perhaps it is mine, weakening the Cheskes Marikama, but if both claim Bari, even Sumchus agrees the Cheskes Marikama is stronger. Number two, Rabbi Bar Avuna holds in the Mishnah, each party claims Bari. It is definitely mine. The last case of the Mishnah discusses a case where both parties claim Shema. In spite of this, the law is the same, to divide. It seems superfluous to teach they divide for a claim of Shema if they divide even for a claim of Bari. The Gemara answers it is only because of the last case we know the first refers to claims of Bari. However, Sumchus agrees if the seller requires an oath of Bava Metzia, a partial admission, there is no division. This leads us to the next discussion of the Gemara. It concerns the second last case in the Mishnah. A seller had either two slaves, one large and small, or two fields, one large and small. The buyer claimed with certainty he bought the larger, and the seller claimed he sold the smaller of the two. He has to swear, even according to Sumchus. The Gemara explained there is no division when the seller requires an oath. However, the Gemara presents three arguments against imposing an oath of Bava Metzia in this case. Number one, the hodah is not me'ein hataina. The admission is not concerning the claim. The seller admits a different slave and a different piece of land. Number two, the case of our Mishnah is one of halach. The seller presents the small slave and says, take what is yours. According to Rav Sheshes, the small slave ceases to remain part of the claim. Number three, slaves are compared to land where an oath cannot be imposed. The Gemara brings solutions, four different solutions, from Rav, Shmuel, Rav Hushai, and Rav Sheshes. Rav answers the dispute is concerning the sum of money given by the purchaser. The three arguments do not apply to money. Shmuel answers the dispute is concerning the purchase of a garment for a slave, for which the seller admits its overall size or sheaves from a field. The three arguments do not apply to garments or sheaves. However, the difficulty with this explanation is the Mishnah mentions a slave, not a garment. Rav Hoshaya answers this dispute was concerning what slave was sold with what garment. The Mishnah teaches the principle of zokakin. Since the seller requires a shvua of Bava Metzia regarding the size of the garment, he is subject to an oath regarding the size of the slave. Although the principle of zokakin is taught elsewhere, here the teaching is more novel because it is possible to see the slave with his garment in the field with its sheaves as one entity, and the oath cannot be devolved from one to the other. Rav Sheshes claims our Mishnah is Rebbe Meir, who holds in respect to oaths, slaves are movable property, and like Ram Gamliel, that the hodah does not have to be me'ein hataina, to obligate an oath. The shvua of Bava Metzia applies even where the plaintiff claimed wheat and the defendant admitted barley. An admittance of lesser value suffices, such as a small rather than a large slave. It is not halach, take what is yours, because after admitting owing the small slave and field, he cut off his hand and dug pits in the field, no longer resembling what he admitted. However, Rav Shesh's explanation that the Mishnah's Rebbe Meir results in extending the requirement to swear to land, since the case in the Mishnah includes land. The Gemara refutes this based on a Mishnah that Rebbe Meir requires a Bava Metzia shvua only for fully ripe grapes still attached to land, but for unripe grapes that still need to be attached, and certainly land itself, he would not require an oath.